This woman, just for a bite to eat, performed 100 push-ups right in front of me. Her movements were not only standard but also remarkably fast, almost like a pile driver. When I asked her the purpose of doing push-ups, she replied that it could not only strengthen her body but also unlock more knowledge. This was because 7 days ago, an apocalyptic disaster struck, transforming flora and fauna into various monsters. An F-class could tear a wild ox apart with their bare hands, a B-class could ascend to the sky and delve into the sea, an A-class could move mountains unaided, and an S-class could even rend the very void. However, I awakened the Goddess Compendium System, which allowed me to collect various goddesses. There were elegant noblewomen, beautiful college girls, charismatic mature women, and tsundere CEOs. Not only could I obtain various foods and supernatural abilities, but I could also go without rest for 7 days. After I emerged from Leng Qingbo's presence, it was already deep into the night. At this moment, my eyes were bright, and my vigor remained. There was nothing to be done, a goddess of Leng Qingbo's caliber was simply too exceptional. Therefore, in the end, had Leng Qingbo not pleaded for mercy, I certainly would not have let her off so easily. With nothing else to do, I opened my system panel. Show CI, Tier 2, 2-star. Wielder of Space, Master of Lightning, Metal Master, Heart of Martial Arts, Gourmet Healing. Already included as a compendium member. Luocheng ability, Gourmet Healing, Tier 1, 3-star. Already included as a compendium member. Luo Wanqiu's ability, Heart of Martial Arts, Tier 1, 3-star. Already included as a compendium member. Luo Wanqiu's ability, Metal Master, Tier 1, 2-star. Already included as a compendium member. Leng Qingbo's ability, Master of Lightning, Tier 1, 1-star. Bond activated. The most ferocious and powerful lightning force in the world shall be at her disposal. Her late-game combat power will be invincible, and her physical talent even more so. Literal meaning, God of Great Thunder, Pure Love Warrior. She has always yearned to find her true love, believing immensely in the power of love. Do not make her jealous. Otherwise, beware, for she might electrify the very foundation of your existence. Host, please continue your efforts to include more goddesses in the compendium. I surveyed my system panel, feeling very satisfied. A day had passed. The 3 women at home must be very worried about me. I couldn't let them continue to fret. With an excited heart and trembling hands, I knocked on the door of my home. Knock, knock, knock. After 3 knocks, I waited expectantly for Luocheng's sweet voice and her welcome in her black and white maid outfit. Unexpectedly, after Luocheng confirmed it was me, she opened the door, turned, and left without the slightest hesitation. I stood outside the door, feeling perplexed. This was entirely different from the scene I had anticipated. Without hesitation, I rushed through the door, grasping Luocheng's arm, eager to understand the reason. However, Luocheng shrugged off my hand and sat directly onto the sofa. Her face was stern, and she glared at me with an air of indignation. Concurrently, from the master bedroom and the second bedroom, Luocheng and Luo Wanqiu emerged. Their expressions mirrored Luocheng's, distant and unfriendly, as they took seats beside her. These 3 women were clearly aligned at this moment. What precisely was happening? I inquired, a hint of guilt in my tone. In truth, I had done nothing amiss. I had merely gone out for a trip and incidentally brought Leng Qingbo into our fold. Not to mention, I had also returned with a significant quantity of supplies. As for whether Luocheng, Luocheng, and Luo Wanqiu would be jealous because of Leng Qingbo, they might not even be aware yet. Even if they were, I was confident they would not harbor jealousy, for I knew my 3 goddesses possessed generous spirits and would not quibble over such trivial matters. For me, even if I were to gather more goddesses, it would not surprise them. This was precisely our path to becoming stronger. Do you genuinely not understand what you have done, or must we spell it out for you? Luocheng, with arms crossed, retorted in a cold tone. This matter has caused us immense distress. Is this how you treat us? The 3 of us waited at home, anticipating your return day and night. Luocheng added swiftly, before I could respond. This has had a profound impact on us. Luo Wanqiu followed immediately with her statement. How could this be? I had only been away for a single day. Why did it feel as though my home had been compromised? Was the might of the great canon no more? Though utterly bewildered, this in no way deterred me from very sincerely and swiftly standing before the three ladies, Lu Qingwan, Lu Ruyan, and Luo Wanqiu. Following this, I offered a profound bow as an apology. I was mistaken. Although I did not comprehend the nature of my error, I conceded that I was indeed wrong. My words were imbued with a sense of grievance. Perhaps it was because I had just uttered too many sweet nothings to Leng Qing. Now, when speaking words of affection, my complexion no longer flushed in the slightest. I remained silent, merely gazing at the three ladies before me with expectant eyes. Hearing my sincere apology and seeing my somewhat aggrieved expression, my wife Lu Qingwan, who cherished me greatly, immediately softened. She turned, continuously winking and nodding, looking at Lu Ruyan, then at Luo Wanqiu, her intentions clearly evident. Noticing Lu Qingwan's reaction, Lu Ruyan and Luo Wanqiu exchanged a glance, deemed the lesson sufficient, and gently nodded. Only then did Lu Qingwan begin to question me. Why did you go out alone? It's the apocalypse now, the outside world is full of zombies and mutated monsters. Aren't you afraid of encountering danger and being unable to return? Then there would be no reason for us three women to live on. As Lu Qingwan spoke, her eyes welled up with tears. After listening to Lu Qingwan's tearful questioning, I immediately understood the core of the problem. It turned out they were worried about me. I was deeply moved by the three women at this moment. With wives like these, what more could a husband ask for? My three darlings, I was wrong. I will not leave you to act alone, we are a family, and no matter what happens, I will accompany you. No sooner had I finished speaking than I embraced the three women tightly, holding them close. They also nodded gently, and the four officially reconciled. Everyone sat together on the sofa, ready to hear my report on the day's events. As I mentioned in my note, I went out today to search for and collect supplies. I went to the nearest large convenience store, the Dongxing convenience store. The supplies there were quite abundant, so I couldn't bring everything back in one go. I waved my hand, and a large handful of crystal cores appeared on the coffee table in front of the three women. Upon seeing these gleaming red crystal cores, Lu Qingwan, Lu Ruyan, and Luo Wanqiu all gaped slightly, somewhat astonished. What do you think? Aren't you eager to become stronger? Let's train together. I said to Lu Ruyan first, a playful glint in my eyes. Lu Ruyan immediately came over for a hug, smiling happily. And Wanqiu, with these crystal cores, you can also catch up to Ruyan and Qingwan more quickly. I then looked at Lu Qingwan and said with a smile. Perhaps your special ability doesn't provide much combat power, but improving your level is always a good idea. At the very least, your physical endurance will improve. After finishing my triumphant speech, I was ready to receive a hug from Qingwan. Unexpectedly, Lu Qingwan raised her small fist and began playfully hitting my chest. With so many zombie cores, how dangerous must it have been for you then? Lu Ruyan also remarked. These cores aren't necessities, so why push yourself so hard? Having you is enough for me. Luo Wanqiu also stated. You are truly so formidable, my dearest. I find myself unable to resist the urge to playfully challenge you as well. As I faced the well-intentioned, yet overwhelming, affections of the three women, my heart swelled with immense satisfaction. Ah, is this the trouble of being too cherished, too loved? Could it be that something rather peculiar has found its way into this situation? Luo Wanqiu seems to have awakened some extraordinary talent, but at this moment, I have no time to ponder it further. The very next moment, I decisively took control of the situation. It seems my apology was not sincere enough. Therefore, allow me to employ a rather distinctive method of apology. Throughout the long night, a few lone zombies on the roadside began to howl aimlessly once more. The profound darkness of night had fully settled, and all sounds of life had completely faded. I stepped out of the master bedroom, full of vigor. It was my own impulsiveness, my indulgence in excess, that was to blame. Astonishingly, I had neglected to inform Lu Qingwan, Lu Ruyan, and Luo Wanqiu of my acquisition of Leng Qingbo from the neighboring residential unit. However, I cannot bear the entirety of the blame, as Leng Qingbo, this young novice, also shares a measure of responsibility. Nevertheless, it must be acknowledged that the three women, after a period of ample rest, were indeed quite remarkable. I gently shook my head, casting those strange thoughts aside. Once more, I took up my pen, meticulously documenting in a clear and concise manner the process by which I had brought Leng Qingbo into my care, and my intention to proceed to the adjacent unit to keep Leng Qing company. Only then did I feel reassured enough to push open the door and depart. Given that a pure love warrior such as Leng Qingbo would undoubtedly experience profound emotional distress upon awakening to discover herself alone, how could I possibly allow such a situation to occur? I want Leng Qingbo to fall wholeheartedly in love with me. Soon after, I returned to Leng Qingbo's residence. I entered the bedroom and saw Leng Qingbo still sleeping soundly. I tiptoed to the bedside, gently lifted the blanket, and embraced Leng Qingbo's delicate body. My hand, as if guided by an innate precision, returned to its accustomed place. Leng Qingbo turned over, snuggled closer into my arms, and fell into a deep sleep. By the time Leng Qingbo slowly awoke, the sun was already high in the sky. Upon waking, Leng Qingbo, like a young woman, burrowed into my arms by the bed. As if that wasn't enough, the next moment, Leng Qingbo spontaneously planted a kiss on my cheek. "You're awake," I said with a smile. As I spoke, my hand playfully teased her, eliciting repeated gasps from Leng Qingbo. That was a good morning kiss. Leng Qingbo, her face flushed with shyness, nodded. She no longer resisted my playful touch. "I've made breakfast, let's get up and eat something." A warm smile appeared on my face. Leng Qingbo smiled sweetly. I then took Leng Qingbo's hand and led her to the dining table. As we ate, I began to discuss our upcoming plans with Leng Qing. "After breakfast, will you come home with me?" I asked with a smile. "Is this to meet them?" Leng Qingbo retorted, a hint of displeasure in her voice. "That's only one aspect, the other is that I want to bring you back to our home." My tone was exceptionally sincere and serious. I emphasized the words "our home" strongly. "Since you are my woman now, you should certainly live in my home. How could you still stay here? It would be so inconvenient for us to cultivate our feelings then." Hearing my words, a sweet feeling once again bloomed in Leng Qingbo's heart. For a moment, she put aside that slight unpleasantness. "Don't worry, they are all very kind. I'm sure you'll get along well with them and become good sisters." I offered Leng Qingbo a few more words of reassurance. "Have you also been intimate with them?" Leng Qingbo asked, her eyelids lowered, her mood somewhat subdued. This matter still weighed on her mind. After all, she was the first. She was not entirely willing to share my affection with other women. Qing. My love for them is the bond we forged while enduring hardships together in this apocalypse. It is simply a heartfelt appreciation and admiration. Do you like it? Leng Qingbo listened to my words, gazing at me blankly. Is there lipstick on my face? I asked Leng Qing, puzzled. I promise you, we are going home. Leng Qingbo said with a faint smile, though a thought occupied her mind. Since my love for each of them is equal, she should not be blamed for using her talents to compete. To acquire more yogurt from me. Leng Qingbo lowered her head slightly, looking at her nuclear slowness, which she usually found most bothersome, but at this moment, it was a source of great delight. This is not cumbersome at all. Leng Qingbo still remembered how captivated I was yesterday. Seeing that Leng Qingbo seemed to have truly understood, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. The Leng Qingbo described on the system panel certainly left a fresh impression on me. I was genuinely a little afraid. If it's burnt, how can it possibly be used? After breakfast, I planned to take Leng Qingbo home. Unexpectedly, Leng Qingbo suddenly let go of my hand. As she ran, she didn't forget to shout, I'm going to change clothes, please wait for me for a moment. I let out a wry smile. Such is a woman. Slow down. So, I waited patiently. As a result, I waited for at least 50 minutes before Leng Qingbo finally emerged from the door. Why so? I hadn't even finished the word slow when, the next second, I was utterly stunned by Leng Qingbo's attire, unable to speak. Do I look good? Leng Qingbo smiled and twirled in front of me. Beautiful. I nodded rather stiffly. I couldn't help but swallow. Leng Qingbo appeared, clad in a pure white, figure-hugging gown that perfectly showcased her exceptional physique and supermodel stature. It was truly beyond comparison. Observing my stunned expression, Leng Qingbo immediately revealed a triumphant smile. This was precisely the intended effect. As she spoke, she proactively linked her arm through mine. Her imposing aura also asserted its dominance. A challenging battle awaited us back home today. I found myself beginning to anticipate it. At that moment, as I arrived at the doorstep with Leng Qingbo and was about to raise my hand to knock, the door swiftly opened. I happily greeted them, saying, "Luo Wanqiu, this is Leng Qing." Leng Qingbo greeted, "Hello, sisters." Leng Qingbo followed closely, nodding and offering a gentle smile. However, when Lu Qingwan, Lu Ruyan, and Luo Wanqiu saw the radiant and charming Leng Qingbo enter the house, her arm linked with mine. To be frank, they were quite surprised and bewildered. In this rather modest Huading residential compound, 3 goddesses, Lu Qingwan, Lu Ruyan, and Leng Qingbo, had appeared simultaneously. One could only conclude that I was indeed worthy of being the grand male protagonist of this apocalyptic era. Their mouths slightly agape, they surveyed Leng Qingbo's exquisite makeup and the unparalleled figure tightly encased within her pure white gown. The 3 women exchanged glances, then subtly nodded. Driven by their feminine intuition, a sixth sense, they swiftly realized one crucial fact: this newcomer, Leng Qing, had arrived to contend for affection. While the 3 women felt that such behavior, detrimental to unity, was entirely unnecessary. Nevertheless, they needed to dampen the spirit of this thunder god CEO. At that moment, the competitive spirit of Lu Qingwan, Lu Ruyan, and Luo Wanqiu, as women, was thoroughly ignited. "Zhou Ci, and you, Qing," one of them said, "do wait for us." Lu Qingwan, the household's matriarch, spoke with a smile. With that, she unhesitatingly led Lu Ruyan and Luo Wanqiu towards the master bedroom. I wore a bewildered expression, thinking, not again, surely. Leng Qingbo's expression subtly creased. It seemed none of them were pushovers, she mused with umph. Nevertheless, she thought, it doesn't matter. "Zhou Ci, you must love me more." Thus, Leng Qing and I, each harboring our own clandestine intentions, proceeded to sit on the sofa and quietly waited. 72 minutes later. Lu Qingwan was the first to make her appearance. She was still clad in her familiar black and white maid outfit, though this time it was a plus version. This ensemble was both revealing and exceedingly daring. It could be said that she embodied the myriad charms of the maid wife to an entirely new level. Lu Qingwan's gentle murmur immediately prompted my enthusiastic agreement. Following Lu Qingwan, Lu Ruyan was the next to appear. However, Lu Ruyan's attire was considerably more conventional. A bold, backless sports bra was paired with an ultra-short skirt. This showcased Lu Ruyan's toned physique without reservation. The unique allure and temperament of a fitness-oriented woman added an exceptional flavor. "Zhou Ci," Lu Ruyan seemingly casually performed a full split, then smiled at me. The smile on my face grew increasingly radiant. I was beginning to feel utterly captivated. This was not the end. The final person to make an entrance was Luo Wanqiu. Luo Wanqiu appeared, donning her long unseen gold-rimmed glasses, a beige professional skirt with sheer stockings, and black high heels. The intellectual elegance of a teacher, combined with the hint of seduction in Luo Wanqiu's eyes, created a distinctive contrast. Luo Wanqiu gracefully swayed her hips as she approached me. Her high heel landed directly on the sofa beside my body. She looked down at me from above, her gaze utterly enchanting. "Student Gu, the teacher has something to say." Zhou Xiaozi was completely enthralled. It was an unbeatable spectacle. It felt as though he was being treated to a private fashion show. Yet, this fashion show was far from over. Leng Qing, who had been patiently waiting for her moment to launch a decisive counterattack, immediately commenced her own display. "Xiao Zhou, your recent work performance has been quite unsatisfactory." Her expression was cool, her gaze indifferent, and she looked at me with a fully unleashed aura. She perfectly embodied the sophisticated demeanor of a cool and aloof CEO. Had it not been for her pure white stepmother-style dress today, which slightly contradicted the image of a cool female CEO, the impact on me would have been exponentially greater. Those expressions, those tones, those gazes, for me, they were already quite sufficient. I am certainly not a picky person. In this moment, looking at the four goddesses surrounding me, I felt I had reached a new level in life. Lu Qingwan smiled gently. Are you satisfied? Lu Rian tilted her head. I think you'll like it. Student Gu, please pay attention in class. Luo Wanqiu tapped my forehead, offering a slight smile. Leng Qingbo's tone was cool and detached. Choose one. If, before hearing Leng Qingbo's words, I only felt great, after hearing them, my somewhat euphoric state instantly cleared and I realized, this was an Ashura's battlefield. Unlike the magnanimity and understanding of Lu Qingwan, Lu Rian, and Luo Wanqiu, the pure love warrior Leng Qingbo was clearly more concerned about this matter. However, if I inadvertently said something that Lu Qingwan, Lu Rian, and Luo Wanqiu disliked, it would also disrupt domestic harmony. So my mind raced, and I immediately began my performance. Qing, do you know, I am truly so grateful to you. Holding Leng Qingbo's hands, I spoke with genuine sincerity. Leng Qingbo's brows furrowed slightly, not understanding the meaning of my words. Equally bewildered were Lu Qingwan, Lu Rian, and Luo Wanqiu. They also hadn't realized what kind of scheme I was planning. Without waiting for the four women to react, I continued. Before your arrival, Qingwan, Lu Rian, and Wanqiu, perhaps due to the survival pressures of the apocalypse, or for other reasons, had not properly adorned themselves for who knows how long. It is precisely because of your arrival that they have all regained their fighting spirit, donned their battle robes, and are truly radiant, making a dazzling appearance. I am so happy for the three of them. Therefore, if you absolutely insist I choose one, I would choose you. The choice of the three of them is also the same. After hearing my words, Lu Qingwan, Lu Rian, and Luo Wanqiu all nodded in profound agreement. It wasn't a matter of choice, but rather the satisfaction and affection for the three of them conveyed in my words. Indeed. Without adornment, they rested in shifts daily, but if they dared to dress up, I could playfully torment them until they were utterly exhausted. It seems the new fledgling has not yet recognized her own endurance. As for Leng Qingbo, upon receiving my clear answer, her heart blossomed with joy. She knew that I must love her a little more. This time, it could be said that all four women by my side heard the answers they wished to hear. My first ever Shura field crisis, a potentially perilous situation, was thankfully resolved without any major incidents. Indeed, to welcome Qingbo, I had specially prepared a particularly lavish lunch. It goes without saying that Lu Qingwan, the mistress of the house and the treasure of my harem, always excels. The moment I resolved the Shura field crisis, I seized control of the situation, deftly navigating past that minor interlude. She had already taken Leng Qingbo's hand and was walking towards the dining table. Thank you, Sister Su. Leng Qingbo responded happily. My earlier words had, it seemed, successfully dispelled her final trace of worry and doubt. Thus, at this moment, her mood could not have been better. Indeed, it was settled, Zhou could be permitted to launch a few more nuclear strikes. On the sofa, Lu Rian and Luo Wanqiu both gave me a thumbs up. I waved my hand with an air of nonchalance, offering a slight smile, as if to say the matter was insignificant. Thus, Lu Rian and Luo Wanqiu, holding hands, also called Leng Qing and proceeded towards the kitchen to help Lu Qingwan serve dishes and soup. Beholding the harmonious scene of these four beautiful goddesses, all with graceful figures, within my own home, I couldn't help but lean back comfortably, resting my arms on the sofa, my head tilted back. At this moment, I was simply enjoying myself like an emperor. Lunch is served. As I was quietly enjoying the sight, Lu Qingwan's voice reached me. I responded with a smile. Upon taking my seat at the dining table, I promptly initiated a request for kisses from the four ladies. A kiss before a meal, after all, greatly aids both appetite and digestion. Lu Qingwan, Lu Rian, Luo Wanqiu, and Leng Qingbo, the four of them, also readily agreed. One by one, they willingly leaned in towards me and gave a smacking kiss. It was so exhilarating, like soaring to the heavens. Dining commenced. It is a widely acknowledged truth that a woman's penchant for gossip burns brightly at every moment. The three women were very curious about how I managed to win over Leng Qingbo. Thus, Lu Qingwan, the mistress of the house, took the initiative and promptly engaged Leng Qingbo in conversation. Qingbo, tell us how the master managed to win you over. Lu Qingwan smiled faintly. Indeed, that's right. Lu Ruyan, too, promptly chimed in with her agreement from the side. There's no need to be nervous or shy, the three of us have already discussed it amongst ourselves, and we'll tell you discreetly a little later. Luo Wanqiu gently patted Leng Qingbo's beautiful back in reassurance and spoke with a smile. At this moment, she gazed around bewilderedly, looking from one person to another. How is it that I remained unaware that these three women, Lu Qingwan, Lu Ruyan, and Luo Wanqiu, had previously discussed this very matter? So, there was this matter you were concealing from me all along. I mused that once dinner concluded, I would thoroughly interrogate them. As for the present, it was certainly imperative to listen to Leng Qingbo's account. A certain curiosity stirred within me regarding the magnificent image I held in her mind. Leng Qing's fair face flushed crimson, perhaps recalling something that had transpired between us. After a prolonged moment of hesitation, she finally began her explanation. In truth, although I hold the position of CEO, I seldom attend the office due to certain personal circumstances. As she spoke, Leng Qingbo subtly lowered her gaze, and where her eyes rested, the four of us instantly understood. Indeed, that makes perfect sense. With the advent of the apocalypse, it meant I no longer needed to work. Consequently, I dedicated myself to catching up on every sweet romantic drama I had missed over the years due to a lack of time. The kind that revolves around falling in love. As I watched more, I couldn't help but fantasize about when I might find a leading man as wonderful as those depicted in television dramas. And then, Zhou Xi appeared. With that, Leng Qing concluded her narration. Her account, however, left Lu Qingwan, Lu Ruyan, and Luo Wanqiu exchanging perplexed glances. Lu Qingwan then spoke. It turned out that Leng Qing, the outwardly cool and aloof CEO, was utterly clueless when it came to matters of the heart. My words might sound harsh, but I must confess, aside from her work, Qingbo is akin to an innocent, naive character when it comes to romance. Luo Wanqiu remarked, did Zhou Xi truly win Qing over so easily? She must be completely infatuated, a love-struck type, wouldn't you say? You may not fully comprehend it, but the connection between Qingbo and me is precisely this remarkable. Witnessing the three women's gazes upon me grow increasingly peculiar, I promptly began to defend myself. Yet, what I received in return was merely perfunctory applause from the three women. It appears I must now subject you all to a proper interrogation. Let go of me. Rising, I lifted Lu Qingwan and Lu Ruyan onto one arm, and Leng Qingbo and Luo Wanqiu onto the other, then proceeded towards the bedroom. Zhou Xi, I'm shy. Leng Qingbo, meanwhile, blushed as red as an apple. Her charm was immense, even surpassing that of Luo Wanqiu. Tonight marked only her second experience. Was it truly necessary to be this intense, this bold? If her nuclear weapon were to be compared with those of the other ladies, would it not cause them unnecessary distress? However, Zhou Xi, after such a comparison, would surely love me even more. With a quiet satisfaction that belied any outward show, I mused. Why be shy? Slowly, you will grow accustomed to it. After all, this is a cherished tradition in our family. I replied with a chuckle. As my words concluded, I had already kicked open the bedroom door. Observing the four goddesses before me, each with her own distinct charm, I nodded in satisfaction. Indeed, it was time for sleep. The night passed without incident. Nothing out of the ordinary occurred. Once again, I was the first to rise, greeting the morning sun. I prepared to make some breakfast for the victims. Soon, thick smoke and the smell of burning emanated from the kitchen. Beholding the masterpiece before me, I felt a sense of dismay. Perhaps instant noodles would be better, they smell quite good too. I entered the room, observing them asleep with the innocent smiles of children. In this apocalyptic world, a measure of peace settled within me. It became clear that I must continue to grow stronger to protect them in the future. Gently closing the door, I exited the room. I sat on the sofa in meditation, sensing the changes within my body. Before long, they emerged from the bedroom, one after another, having awoken. I've heated up self-heating rice for you, please come and eat. I said with a smile. However, I did not anticipate that my reply would be met with Lu Qingwan's words, which struck me like lightning and filled me with deep humiliation. You should never enter the kitchen again, your clanging and banging there directly woke us all up. Lu Qingwan yawned and rubbed her eyes. Indeed. No sooner had she finished speaking than she was met with agreement from the three women, Lu Ruyan, Luo Wanqiu, and Leng Qingbo. The three women's gazes towards me were exceptionally resentful. Good heavens, did you not realize how late you were causing a disturbance last night? Oh, I understand. My tone was subdued. I was truly a little disheartened. After all, I had meant well. All right, Master, none of us blame you, just leave trivial matters like cooking to me. Seeing me immediately become aggrieved, Lu Qingwan couldn't bear it. She immediately pulled me into her embrace and gently comforted me. I was also quickly consoled. This scene, observed by Lu Ruyan, Luo Wanqiu, and Leng Qingbo, could only elicit a sigh of admiration. It's no wonder they say Lu Qingwan is the ideal homemaker, she is simply an all-round excellent maidwife. The self-heating rice is quite good too, it smells delicious. Wanqiu, you three, come quickly and eat. Leng Qingbo said this, gesturing to the three women while winking and giving meaningful glances. The implication was clear, placate me first before anything else. Thus, Lu Ruyan, Luo Wanqiu, and Leng Qingbo immediately agreed with smiles. Everyone ate the self-heating rice, praising that my self-heating rice was indeed heated quite well. This, in turn, significantly improved my mood. Observing the bevy of beauties around me, I said to Lu Qingwan. Thank you for your understanding. I plan to speak with you alone about something after dinner. What is it? Lu Qingwan wore a puzzled expression. Let's eat first. At this moment, I escorted Lu Qingwan out of the bedroom, and although her stamina had indeed improved, she still lacked a bit of experience in one-on-one combat. To reward her for her comprehensive care, I felt compelled to give her special attention. Looking at the beautiful women before me, I smiled and said, Qing, there's still one day left. I hope you can understand and master the Lord of Thunder ability as thoroughly as possible. My foresight is quite long-term. What if we encounter some sudden mishap tomorrow, and we are all too exhausted to handle the crisis? Leng Qingbo, alone, would at least have some self-preservation capability, wouldn't she? I will definitely work hard. Leng Qing's reply was very spirited. Could it be that you've already found a new shelter? Lu Qingwan's tone held a hint of surprise. As the first two women in my original startup team, she and Lu Ruyan had both heard me discuss some of my future plans. Not yet, I said, scratching my head awkwardly and smiling brightly. Then what are you talking about? Lu Ruyan couldn't help but glare fiercely at me, which made me chuckle. Immediately, I slapped her shapely backside, causing a ripple effect. Is that how you speak to your man? Lu Ruyan didn't dare to say anything more. She feared that if she continued to argue, before the meeting was even over, I would take her to play sniper again. She couldn't win against me in a one-on-one match, and it would also involve the other three women. Her heart was joyful, but her body was weary. Although I haven't yet found a specific location for our shelter, I already have an idea. How so? Qingwan asked, her interest piqued. She was always very good at providing me with emotional support. We'll find a villa in a residential area and move in. With Wanqiu there, we can directly transform it into a war fortress, capable of both defense and rapid relocation. Plus, a large space is more suitable for playing games, isn't it? After hearing my words, Luo Wanqiu's eyes lit up. The idea of arming a villa into a fortress deeply appealed to her. As for the talk of a large space, she didn't concern herself much with it, for she had completely faced reality last night. She was truly a weakling who loved to play despite her lack of skill. While others partook in a full meal, she could only manage a sip of soup, anything more, she simply couldn't handle. Lu Qingwan and Lu Ruyan, on the other hand, instantly understood my meaning. The mother and daughter exchanged glances and shared a knowing smile. They knew I was just such a person, very reliable when serious, and truly skilled at play when not. Wanqiu, I'll entrust this matter to you, no problem? Just leave it to me. Luo Wanqiu nodded confidently. Perhaps in certain matters, her performance might have been a tad unsatisfactory, but when it came to equipment, Luo Wanqiu was truly an expert among experts. It was at this moment that Leng Qing, who had been listening quietly nearby, not having spoken for some time, suddenly broke her silence. Zhou Xi, she began, it just so happens that I own a villa. What do you think about its location? If you're satisfied, we can move there. Leng Qingbo, after a long silence, uttered a truly astonishing statement. As the CEO of a listed technology company, and also serving as Thor, she had reached the pinnacle of wealth, both spiritual and material. Where is it located? Upon hearing this, my interest was immediately piqued. I looked at Leng Qing, my eyes shimmering with eager anticipation. Luo Wanqiu and the mother-daughter duo, Lu Qingwan, also showed expressions of surprise. Leng Qingbo smiled faintly, then took a map from her handbag and unfolded it before them all. Her finger gently tapped the map, right here. It's not far from the city, yet relatively quiet with a good environment. There aren't many tall buildings around, so the view is unobstructed, which will make it easier for us to observe our surroundings. I carefully examined the map, recalling the plan we had discussed last night, and concluded that this location was indeed an excellent choice. I turned to Luo Wanqiu. What do you think? Luo Wanqiu meticulously studied the location on the map, combining it with her knowledge of the villa district, and nodded, this place is very suitable for us to transform the villa into a fortress. The surrounding environment is also ideal for our training and improving our strength. Lu Qingwan and Lu Rian also expressed their agreement. They understood the critical importance of having a safe and suitable stronghold in this apocalyptic world. Everyone quickly reached a consensus, deciding to move to Leng Qingbo's villa. We began discussing the specific moving plan and renovation proposals, each person filled with anticipation and drive. Half an hour later, as I was meticulously sparring with Lu Rian, I was suddenly called away by Luo Wanqiu because her laboratory was organized, and I could store the items in my portable space. I followed Luo Wanqiu to the laboratory across from the house. No sooner had I stepped inside than Luo Wanqiu eagerly sprang into action, revealing her true intentions. The next second, she, who had been walking ahead of me, turned, pushed me directly against the wall, and began to demand the peach flavor from my lips. Luo Wanqiu also casually untied her hair, letting it fall loose, then unbuttoned her lab coat, revealing a flush of pink. Luo Wanqiu, wearing gold-rimmed glasses on her nose, had a hazy gaze. Luo Wanqiu kissed with abandon, attempting to put something like handcuffs on me, but to her surprise, I noticed it the very next second. You like this? I asked with a smile. Just try it, Luo Wanqiu pouted playfully. Don't tell me this is what you've been researching all day in the lab, I sighed helplessly, yet still agreed to Luo Wanqiu's request. There was no helping it, I couldn't resist the enthusiasm of this unconventional teacher. Nevertheless, despite the aid of props and knowledge, Luo Wanqiu was still unable to prevail against me in the slightest. An hour and 15 minutes later, I pushed open the laboratory door and strode out. Back at home, all the laboratory items had already been placed into my portable space. As for Luo Wanqiu, she was still unable to get up in the laboratory. Something that could be resolved in the snap of a finger, and you and teacher Luo wasted so much time? Lu Rian asked, an expression of disbelief on her face, while a faint suspicion had already begun to form in her mind. I've just been drained. Do you want to drain me too? I asked with a smile. As I spoke, my hands moved to encircle Lu Rian's smooth waist. I'm ready, Lu Rian said, lightly biting her lip. Her inner desire for strength had long reached its peak, and to enhance her abilities, Lu Rian had diligently learned many novel and varied yoga poses. The two then walked together towards the room. It must be said that Lu Rian, having mastered new yoga poses, had made significant progress in both her combat effectiveness and stamina. This time, nearly 2 hours of high-difficulty yoga were completed. When I opened the door to the secondary bedroom, I found that Lu Qingwan had already been waiting for a long time. All the supplies in the storage room have been counted. I'll take you to organize them now. Lu Qingwan said, eagerly pulling my hand, and quickly walked towards the storage room. Upon arriving at the storage room, Lu Qingwan began to ceremoniously report the quantities of various supplies, but soon. She could no longer maintain her pretense. Lu Qingwan suddenly lunged at me, pinning me beneath her. I don't want you to get hurt. Could you help me advance to the second stage? Lu Qingwan's hands were already beginning to move. Of course, Qingwan, I will help you. I expressed my intentions through my actions. My movements were extremely vigorous. the two of them spent a pleasant 2.5 hours together. As Leng Qing's meditation concluded, I appeared by her side, wrapping an arm around Leng Qingbo and saying, "Qingbo, what have you gained from your meditation?" I sat down next to Leng Qingbo and inquired. "I feel wonderful. Now, with a mere flick of my wrist, I can summon thunder." Leng Qingbo's eyes sparkled, her aura flowing like water. This experience of mastering new abilities and vastly increasing her power brought her immense exhilaration. After such a long period of meditation, you must be tired. Let me give you a massage, consider it relaxation. As I spoke, my hands were already on Leng Qing's shoulders, beginning to massage them. However, slowly, Leng Qingbo began to feel that I was no longer content with merely massaging her shoulders. My hands seemed to have automatically activated an auto-aiming system. Leng Qingbo offered no resistance. Jealousies' method of relaxation was quite unique, and she rather enjoyed it. Was this not an expression of affection? Early the next morning, "Is everything ready? This is our family member's first operation. After we've cleared the Dongxing convenience store, we'll head directly to Luocheng Villa district," I said gravely, gazing at the 4 women standing before me. The 4 women remained silent, merely nodding slightly in agreement. As the family's backbone, Lu Qingwan couldn't help but glance back at the almost empty home, a hint of reluctance in her eyes. Who could have imagined that just last night, these women were recharging with me in every corner of this house, only to leave today, likely never to return again in this lifetime. "Qingwan, we're going to live in a grand villa." I knew that Lu Qingwan was always the most emotionally and mentally delicate among them, so it was perfectly normal for her to feel this way now. But it's alright, out with the old, in with the new, as they say. At the thought of these women soon moving into a grand villa with me, Lu Qingwan's mood couldn't help but shift from a slight sadness and reluctance to a touch of excitement. As long as their master was satisfied. After leaving Hooding community, I led the way, and the group of 5 headed towards the Dongxing convenience store. Along the way, we encountered some small groups of zombies. To train my women, I had Lu Ruyan, Luo Wanqiu, and Leng Qingbo cooperate, each using their unique abilities to eliminate the first-tier zombies. Upon reaching the convenience store, we split into groups and cleared out its contents, gathering all sorts of food and supplies. Notably, we acquired all the battle robes from the adjacent toy store. Their designs were appealing, one could only wonder what sight they would present when worn by the women. 2 hours later, after battling our way through, we arrived before the Luocheng Villa. Aside from Leng Qingbo, the other 4 were all astonished. "Qingbo, you are truly amazing." I praised her sincerely. "I'm glad you like it, as long as all of you sisters are satisfied," Leng Qing replied with a smile. No sooner had she finished speaking than she opened the villa's main door, inviting me and the others inside. Beside her, Luo Wanqiu's eyes sparkled with excitement. "This is practically a comfortable armed fortress." Lu Qingwan's face flushed. "The master will certainly be very pleased with this." Lu Ruyan's expression was full of enthusiasm. "Whether for improving strength or sparring, the space is ample." After the group entered the villa, Leng Qingbo continued her introduction. "This villa has 5 bedrooms on each floor, including 1 master bedroom and 4 secondary bedrooms, making a total of 25 bedrooms. Additionally, there are 8 bathrooms, 6 separate shower rooms, 5 kitchens, 3 reception rooms, 3 laundry rooms, 3 parking spaces, 3 utility rooms, a small garden courtyard, a home theater, and a gym. I forgot to mention, in addition to the 5 floors above ground, there is also a spacious basement underground." Leng Qing finished describing the villa's structure and room layout in one breath, leaving me and the others greatly excited. "I want those 3 utility rooms to set up my laboratory." When not being contradictory, Luo Wanqiu demonstrated great professionalism and sharp intellect. "I love the gym, I can finally work out again." Lu Ruyan's words revealed her joy. She hadn't touched any gym equipment since the apocalypse, with one exception. "The basement floor is perfect for storing supplies, let's move everything in there." Lu Qingwan, who was most concerned with supply management, also had her own plans. As for me, I flashed a mysterious smile. "There are quite a few scenarios and experiences that can be unlocked in the future." This villa seemed tailor-made for me, with its vast space allowing for the full expression of talent. Alright, I'll listen to all of you." "Zhou these keys are for you. You are the true pillar of our home. After agreeing to the requests of Lu Qingwan, Lu Ruyan, and Luo Wanqiu, Leng Qingbo directly gifted me the ownership of the villa. When one loves someone, they are naturally willing to generously offer everything. This is Leng Qing's philosophy in love. Don't worry, I won't disappoint you. I offered Leng Qingbo a gentle smile. Please go rest for a bit. I'll take them to prepare a delicious dinner for you. Lu Qingwan pulled Lu Ruyan, Luo Wanqiu, and Leng Qing, intending to head towards the large kitchen. However, the four women's steps were firmly stopped by me. I embraced Leng Qingbo and whispered into her ear, "Aren't all of you the dinner I like?" Indeed, I reflected that last night had been a beautiful one. Everything about my four goddesses made me linger and wish to relive it. Lu Qingwan, who was sleeping with her head on my arm, shifted closer to me after noticing my movement. Lu Qingwan murmured softly. So I smiled and kissed Lu Qingwan's forehead, as if sealing it with a stamp. Lu Qingwan and I clasped our hands together, fingers intertwined. I'll go wash up and then make breakfast, you can wake the others. After receiving my morning kiss, Lu Qingwan smiled contentedly and was the first to get up and leave. I then began to wake the remaining individuals one by one. Naturally, my wake-up service varied for each different goddess. I first approached Lu Ruyan, gently pinching the cheek of this cool and elegant woman, and soon woke her up. Next was Luo Wanqiu. For the contradictory teacher Lin, good service undoubtedly involved a playful slap to her firm, shapely backside. As for Leng Qingbo, I whispered soft nothings gently into her ear. In just a moment, Leng Qingbo also awoke, and we spent a good while laughing and playfully teasing each other. Everyone gathered around the dining table, devouring their food voraciously. Since yesterday afternoon, the four women had not eaten a single bite. After breakfast, Ruyan and Wanqiu, you two will accompany me to Luocheng University to see if we can find anything. Qing Luo, your current strength is still insufficient, so for now, you will stay behind with Qingwan to familiarize yourselves with the villa, arrange supplies, and assign rooms. Does anyone object to this arrangement? My gaze swept over the four goddesses, who replied when they had a moment. Watching them ravenously eat, I secretly chuckled, thinking, you little rascals, look how energetic you were yesterday. An hour later, after confirming their next objectives and plans, the group began to split up and act. Leng Qingbo and Lu Qingwan remained at home, while I set off for Luocheng University with Lu Ruyan and Luo Wanqiu. From the Luocheng Villa district to Luocheng University, one only needed to cross the Luocheng Bridge, then follow the road along the foot of Mount Luosong directly to the destination. The distance was not far, and it did not take much time. It was only when crossing the Luocheng Bridge that we inevitably encountered difficulties. The reason was that the blood rain fell on a weekend, and the number of vehicles on Luocheng Bridge far exceeded the usual. Some families were heading to Mount Luosong for recreation, others to the Luo River, and some were driving back to Luocheng City. This inevitably led to traffic paralysis after the blood rain began to fall. Almost everyone on the bridge had turned into zombies. In the emergency, those on the bridge were either struck down or became food for the fish. Although most of the zombies on Luocheng Bridge had already left, a considerable number still lingered on the bridge. What should we do? Can we break through? Facing the multitude of zombies, Luo Wanqiu asked with some trepidation. She had truly never witnessed such a sight. Trust me, we can do this. These zombies aren't that powerful, and I'll handle the second-tier ones myself. I nodded confidently. Beside me, Lu Ruyan, without a word, tightened her grip on her equipment. Are you ready? I asked with a smile, hoping to help them relax as I spoke. After taking a deep breath, Lu Ruyan and Luo Wanqiu's gazes became resolute. Yes. Thus, I led the way, with Lu Ruyan and Luo Wanqiu following closely behind me, as we stepped onto Luocheng Bridge. The sudden appearance of us three, such delectable prey, naturally drew the attention of the zombies. This time, I've clearly counted them. Here's the total number of second-tier zombies. I stated in a deep voice. As soon as the words left my lips, I burst forward like an arrow released from its bowstring, charging directly toward the 8 second-tier zombies. Immediately, the Shakido Ganji around my body was unleashed. An invisible wave of energy surged, directly impeding and slowing the advance of the second-tier zombies. Further away, the first-tier zombies caught in the blast were instantly thrown back, leaving white marks on their bodies. As if intimidated by an unseen force, the first-tier zombies recoiled, daring not to approach even a fraction closer. My gaze was sharp and stern. Facing 8 second-tier zombies, I showed no fear. My movements were nimble, and I weaved through the horde of zombies like a specter, each swing accompanied by a sharp whistle of wind. With a reverse grip, I drew my long, slender blade, its hilt at my waist. A flash of cold light gleamed as I put force into the draw. Then, a massive white crescent instantly cut through the air, unleashed by my swing. That white crescent strike cleaved a second-tier zombie directly in half. This was a blade glow formed by the straight blade channeling the Shikido Ganji. Did you truly think I spend my days neglecting my duties, only indulging in harem pleasures? That towering second-tier zombie, now split into 2 halves, instantly crashed to the ground. The next moment, the zombies once again surged forward recklessly. Naturally, I remained undaunted by this. You two just clear out the first-tier zombies, and make sure to protect yourselves. I instructed Lu Rian and Luo Wanqiu, glancing back as I rushed forward to confront the second-tier zombies. After Metal Master advanced to the second tier, I could now manipulate heavier metal objects. With a wave of my left hand, which was loosely clasped, the small car was directly hurled towards a second-tier zombie. The sedan collided violently with the zombie. The Tier 2 zombie was immediately stunned and disoriented by the impact. This was not the end. With another point of my left hand, I unleashed Lord of Thunder. A thick purple lightning bolt, as wide as a bucket, suddenly surged downwards, instantly striking the zombie and charring it beyond recognition, leaving it utterly dead. Immediately after, spatial ripples appeared around me, and in the next second, I shifted out of the encirclement of the Tier 2 zombies. Gripping my straight blade with both hands, I brought it down heavily onto the back of a Tier 2 zombie. A surging white crescent emanated, mercilessly claiming the life of yet another Tier 2 zombie. The 3 of us worked together seamlessly, displaying perfect coordination. All the remaining Tier 1 zombies were eliminated. Now, the bridge was littered with crystal cores. Zhou Ci, you are truly formidable. Gazing at my powerful and dashing appearance, Luo Wanqiu shyly collapsed into my arms, her breath fragrant like orchids. Ha 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 ha, I'll take good care of you when we get back. I whispered with a mischievous smile into Luo Wanqiu's ear. As for Lu Ruyan, she also looked at me without any attempt to hide her feelings. Sensing her intense gaze, I grinned mischievously at Lu Ruyan. After a brief rest, we all headed to the west gate of the school. This was the West Canteen, where students from the West District of Luocheng University usually came to eat. I believe since there's sufficient food here, there might still be survivors. Let's search together. No problem. Rian and Wanqiu both nodded with a smile. However, as soon as we entered the first floor of the West Canteen, we were met with a chaotic, bloody, and nauseating sight. I was relatively unfazed, but the 2 women, Lu Rian and Luo Wanqiu, nearly gagged and vomited. The floor was covered in a mixture of food scraps and blood, tables and chairs were overturned, and utensils lay scattered, some still clinging with shredded meat and internal organs. Luo Wanqiu covered her mouth, her face pale. Lu Rian also retreated repeatedly, her stomach churning. Could there really be survivors in this canteen? Luo Wanqiu muttered to herself, lowering her head. It's all right, Teacher Lin, this is just the first floor. Let's go upstairs and check. Lu Ruyan, who clearly had stronger psychological endurance, smiled and reassured Luo Wanqiu. Even if the first floor has fallen, the second and third floors might still be clear. I also said with a smile. The scene on the second floor was only marginally better than the first, yet it still presented a gruesome and sickening sight, unbearable to behold. Just then, the roars of zombies and distinct human screams suddenly echoed from above the 3 individuals. The 3 exchanged glances. Something's happening, let's go check it out. In a corner window on the 3rd floor, farthest from the stairwell, more than a dozen first-tier zombies were visible. They were gnawing on human corpses they had torn to shreds, all the while roaring, attempting to break the window to reach the deepest part of that corner. I let out a soft command, and Lu Rian and Luo Wanqiu instantly charged forward. The 2 women worked in perfect harmony, their straight blades and metal arrows striking like dragons. In mere moments, they had wiped out all dozen-plus zombies. How is it? Are there any survivors? I walked over. See for yourself, just try not to drool. Lu Rian and Luo Wanqiu each chuckled, tilting their heads to indicate that I should look inside through the window myself. I raised an eyebrow and peered through the window. At that moment, I felt as if I was about to be overwhelmed by joy and pleasant surprise. No wonder my eyelid had been twitching all morning. It turned out there were 2 long-legged goddesses in this west canteen. After dismissing my system panel, I eagerly smashed the serving window, rescuing the twin dancing goddesses, Bai Jian and Bai Erin. Looking over, I saw Bai Jian and Bai Erin huddled in a corner, their faces filled with terror and dismay, utterly distraught. Although both now appeared somewhat haggard, their innocent yet formidable countenances, like pear blossoms after rain, were captivating enough to draw all eyes. Furthermore, their 2 pairs of long legs, encased in jeans, possessed an unparalleled shape, perfectly proportioned and remarkably slender. Their thighs were slender yet shapely, and their calves were trim and taut. I could only assert that their naturally endowed, alluring high-stocking physique was simply unbeatable. You are safe now, please try to relax, okay? I offered the twin sisters a gentle smile and softly inquired. I stepped into the cramped room and knelt before Bai Jian and Bai Erin. Can you tell me what happened? Please don't worry, you won't encounter any more danger. I reiterated my assurance. Why didn't you come sooner? Then my cousin wouldn't have died. Bai Erin cried out loudly, her voice filled with sorrow and a tearful catch. She hugged her knees tightly, sobbing softly. My sister has just suffered a shock, I hope you don't mind. Despite her inner pain, with red-rimmed eyes, the elder sister Bai Jian still managed to maintain her composure, forcing a faint smile as she replied. I wouldn't mind. What did she mean by the cousin she mentioned? I shook my head and asked with concern. When the apocalypse first began, my sister and I were having a meal with our cousin, who had come from the East District to find us. He was a sports major with excellent physical capabilities. So, when the zombies attacked the cafeteria, he led his classmates, fighting off the zombies as they rushed to the 3rd floor. However, during this process, many students perished on the 1st and 2nd floors. If it hadn't been for our cousin's protection, my sister and I might not have survived. After reaching the 3rd floor, we hid in these small rooms behind the serving windows, defending them fiercely. Yet, the zombies persistently refused to leave. They remained entrenched on the 3rd floor, attempting to breach the windows and devour us all. Just moments ago, in an effort to protect us, our cousin was surrounded by numerous zombies, bitten, and killed. As Bai Jian spoke, she couldn't help but embrace her sister, Bai Erin, and weep. While I was conversing with the twin sisters, Lu Rian and Luo Wanqiu had already completed a sweep of all 3 floors. Indeed, there are no survivors left. Please take care of yourselves, you must pull yourselves together, if only for your cousin's sake. My tone was extremely earnest. Even in the apocalypse, not everyone loses their humanity. He was truly a rare individual of integrity and loyalty. We must live on with strength, we cannot allow our cousin's sacrifice to be in vain. Bai Erin tightly clasped Bai Jian's hand, speaking with a resolute tone. Bai Jian, however, appeared deeply troubled and lost in profound thought. Can just the 2 of us sisters truly survive in this perilous apocalyptic world? Bai Jian's tone revealed a lack of confidence. Upon hearing her sister's words, Bai Erin's spirits immediately dropped. Indeed, without their cousin's protection, could they truly survive? It was at this moment that I, who had been observing the sisters Bai Jian and Bai Erin, smiled. I understood that the opportunity had arrived. Therefore, I waved them over, calling Luo Wanqiu and Lu Rian to my side. I gave them a look, it's up to you too. To guard against any sudden zombie attack, Rian and Wanqiu stayed together, comforting the 2 girls. You just mentioned that you wish to survive in this apocalyptic world, correct? Perhaps we can offer assistance. Luo Wanqiu's words, both gentle and resolute, caused the Bai sisters to involuntarily relax. What do you mean? Bai Jian paused in surprise, inquiring with a bewildered expression. Do you see that man? He is Zhou Ci, and in fact, we are all his partners. Rest assured, our involvement is entirely voluntary. It is precisely because of him that we have managed to survive in this apocalyptic world. I hope you can calm your minds and listen to what I am about to say. Luo Wanqiu seemed to possess the natural talent of an orator, not only calming the Bai sisters' anxieties but also making them listen to her story with complete conviction. Half an hour later, the two sisters clearly displayed expressions of being swayed. Setting aside the issue of survival, where would two young women go next? Furthermore, I do possess a certain charm, and that act can even awaken supernatural abilities. There truly is no reason to refuse. Teacher Luo, Student Lu, please give my sister and me a little time, we need to consider this carefully. Bai Jianyu tightly held Bai Erin's hand, forcing herself to speak. She was genuinely afraid her sister would agree the next second, which would seem far too eager. Meanwhile, I, just a wall away, smiled faintly upon hearing this. The success of this matter is now all but assured. What surprised me, however, was that Luo Wanqiu turned out to be a hidden orator. I shook my head gently, my estimation of Luo Wanqiu rising yet again. Originally, I had been concerned that the Bai sisters might find such an arrangement difficult to accept, as in this apocalyptic world, human hearts are unpredictable, and trust is an even more precious resource. However, Luo Wanqiu not only successfully dispelled their doubts but also made them seriously consider the possibility of becoming my companions, which truly exceeded my expectations. Leaning against the wall, I lightly tapped my fingers on its surface, contemplating the next course of action. Since the Bai sisters have already been swayed, it is imperative to strike while the iron is hot and bring them into my fold as quickly as possible. In this world fraught with peril, an additional force brings an additional layer of security. Indeed, this was the moment to witness a marvel. One can only say, she truly lives up to being a university teacher, she certainly has some impressive skills. I inwardly commended Luo Wanqiu. Even if it is imperfect, I hold no disdain. After waiting for a little while longer, I reappeared before the Bai sisters. However, I did not proactively engage in conversation with the twin sisters, Bai Jian and Bai Erin. I was awaiting their response. After all, I consider myself quite the gentleman, waiting for this brief period was certainly within my patience. My gaze shifted towards Rian and Wanqiu. Let us head home shortly, before nightfall, for I am uncertain what the outside world transforms into under the cover of darkness. The two women exchanged glances, a slight apprehension in their eyes, and both nodded in agreement. It was at this precise moment. A pleasant female voice rang out, asking, "Zhou Ci, Teacher Luo, Classmate Lu, may my sister and I accompany you?" In the corner, Bai Jianyu, holding her sister Bai Erin's hand, stood up and, gathering her courage, posed the question. It would be an immense honor. Adept at the art of feigned indifference, I offered a subtle smile and extended a warm welcome. Luo Wanqiu and Lu Rian, however, displayed considerable enthusiasm. They stepped forward, each taking one of Bai Jian and Bai Erin's small hands. Meanwhile, Bai Jian and Bai Erin had, at some point unbeknownst to them, blushed deeply. They dared only to steal a glance at me when they believed I wasn't looking. I then inquired with the two sisters about the whereabouts of their cousin's remains, emphasizing the need for proper handling. After all, he too was a man of deep sentiment and integrity. Witnessing this, the two sisters naturally felt an increasing sense of ease. On the journey home, the 5-person group I led advanced at a rapid pace, giving their utmost effort. Should anyone feel their stamina waning, assistance was readily provided to aid in their recovery. Bai Jianyu and Bai Erin quickly consumed several rice balls, as they had not yet awakened their abilities and were not espers. Luo Wanqiu and Lu Rian, however, were able to keep pace with me effortlessly. Just as the sun was about to set, the 5 individuals returned to Luocheng Villa district, arriving home safely. Zhou Ci, upon stepping through the doorway, found himself embraced from both sides by Lu Qingwan and Leng Qingbo, each offering a warm hug. His arms were thus enveloped in their soft embraces. This pleasant sensation immediately made all his weariness dissipate. It was at this precise moment that they noticed the presence of new young women beside them. Hello, big sisters. Bai Jian, holding her sister Bai Erin's hand, smiled and greeted Lu Qingwan and Leng Qingbo. Hello everyone, I'm Lu Qingwan, and welcome. Lu Qingwan instantly adopted the demeanor of a household mistress and the generous, magnanimous attitude of a queen of the harem. She then smiled and embraced the Bai sisters. Leng Qingbo, on the other hand, first scrutinized Bai Jianyu and Bai Erin from head to toe, only feeling slightly relieved after confirming that the two women merely possessed superior body proportions and extraordinarily long legs. It's alright, when it comes to nuclear deterrence, Leng Qingbo still has few rivals even now. Leng Qingbo remained full of confidence, greeting the Bai sisters warmly. My name is Leng Qingbo, and I'm very pleased to meet you. She waved her hand as a sign of friendliness. Bai Jianyu and Bai Erin immediately returned her smile, responding, Sister Luo. The sisters' gazes inadvertently lingered for a moment on Leng Qingbo's ample nuclear strike, which was truly astonishing. If not for the sisters' self-awareness of their 170 centimeters height, impressive body proportions, and long, slender legs, their own distinct advantages, they might well have felt inferior. One can only say that the world is vast and full of wonders. I almost forgot, I haven't introduced ourselves to you two sisters yet. My name is Bai Jianyu, and I am the elder sister. Bai Jianyu pointed to herself and introduced herself. My name is Bai Erin, and I am the younger sister. As you can see, we are twin sisters. Bai Erin also showed a sweet smile and continued. Well, let's start dinner. I had just finished preparing the meal when you arrived home, the timing is perfect. After dinner, I will take you to choose your rooms. The mistress of the house, Lu Qingwan, said this while enthusiastically linking arms with Bai Jianyu and Bai Erin, leading them toward the dining table. The Bai sisters were new arrivals, so as the mistress of the harem, she had to ensure they felt welcome and made themselves at home. This was precisely Lu Qingwan's intention. Seeing that Lu Qingwan had settled the Bai sisters, I couldn't help but smile with satisfaction. Lu Qingwan, the head maid, was always so reliable, which put my mind at ease. Everyone gathered around the dining table, eating and chatting pleasantly. Lu Qingwan, who had been engrossed in my handsomeness, suddenly recalled something and spoke up. Around noon today, a woman from the house next to ours came looking for us. You can go see her when you have time. Lu Qingwan smiled mysteriously. She came to borrow some supplies, and I lent her a few. Leng Qingbo nodded in agreement. Upon Lu Qingwan's mention, she recalled the matter. The woman's appearance and demeanor were unforgettable, much like a superstar actress. I will go to meet her. Lu Qingwan and Leng Qingbo's words piqued my interest, suggesting a potential pleasant surprise. I felt cheerful and looked forward to it. Now is not the time. All right, I'm finished eating. Bai Jian, come with me. I put down my chopsticks and spoke with a hint of impatience. Now? Bai Erin's tone carried a hint of surprise. Bai Jianyu, however, appeared much more mature and composed. Holding her sister Bai Erin's hand, she stood up and followed behind me. As for Lu Ruyan, Lu Qingwan, Luo Wanqiu, and Leng Qingbo, they also consciously stood up, intending to recharge with me and the Bai sisters. Such a rush, Zhou Xi, are you perhaps tired of us? Leng Qingbo said, both embarrassed and annoyed. Luo Wanqiu, on the other hand, watched the scene with her arms crossed and a radiant smile. After all, she always freeloaded, so it was best not to say too much, lest she couldn't withstand my formidable firepower and brought trouble upon herself. No, not at all. It's just that their special abilities are somewhat unusual, so to ensure safety, I had no choice but to proceed this way. I explained helplessly. I was genuinely concerned that if I failed to provide Bai Jianyu and Bai Erin with a satisfactory experience, it would be a loss rather than a gain. This was something I could not tolerate. Then you'd better go quickly. Since I had explained myself so thoroughly, Leng Qingbo, being a reasonable person, chose to trust me. Don't go to bed too early, all right? Before leaving, I didn't forget to cast a smiling glance at the four women, Lu Qingwan, Lu Ruyan, Luo Wanqiu, and Leng Qingbo. The meaning was self-evident. Understood, understood. Go quickly, master, look how shy the two sisters have become. Lu Qingwan said with a laugh, gently pushing me along. As for me, I naturally put my arms around Bai Jian and Bai Erin, one on each side. Leading them, I walked towards the largest master bedroom on the second floor. The Bai sisters neither refused nor offered further words. And so, I accompanied the Bai sisters to the master bedroom, and after closing the door, with a quick motion, I retrieved 2 pairs of black stockings and 2 pairs of white stockings from my personal space, instructing the 2 young women to put them on. It would truly be a pity if Bai Jian and Bai Yiren, with their naturally magnificent long legs, did not adorn them with exquisite stockings. Although Bai Jian and Bai Yiren's faces were flushed like crimson apples, they nonetheless fulfilled my expectations. Bai Jian, the elder sister in black stockings, and Bai Yiren, the younger sister in white stockings, as I quietly admired them, I could only deem the sight unparalleled. They truly exuded a myriad of charms. With a beaming smile, I then commenced my task. In an instant, tearing sounds echoed through the room. For me, this was indeed a highly artistic endeavor, though it also required some rather vigorous tearing techniques. To speak of the most delightful aspect, it would have to be the drawing of a bow and knocking an arrow, the elegant posture of shooting a condor. That unparalleled, stunning spectacle, and the perfectly positioned points of exertion. I can only say that I inadvertently became completely lost in the moment. 5 hours later. Under the affectionate big brother offensive from the 2 women, I exited the master bedroom. If not for the 2 women pleading for mercy, who knows how late we would have continued. After all, both women were dance students, and the experience was truly maximized. The 2 women's supernatural abilities had also awakened, offering double returns, and the supplies in the basement were directly doubled. In high spirits and ready for action, I proceeded towards the master bedroom on the 1st floor. Do not ask why Lu Qingwan, Lu Ruyan, Luo Wanqiu, and Leng Qingbo, the 4 women, had no one to greet me. It was simply that they, too, were in the midst of their preparations. A moment later, when I pushed open the door to the master bedroom on the 1st floor, I was greeted by a truly stunning sight. Lu Qingwan wore only a sensual apron, revealing her pristine skin, perfectly fitting her role as a maidwife. Lu Ruyan, for her part, had become considerably bolder, with lace lingerie and garter stockings complementing her trim figure. Luo Wanqiu, adorned in a French lace, seductive off-the-shoulder short dress, had this time opted for a pair of black rimless glasses. She cast a fleeting glance in my direction. That alluring sense of contrast immediately captivated me. For the exceptional Leng Qingbo, excessive ostentation was unnecessary. She simply changed into a modest set of purple lingerie, yet the visual impact was already profoundly striking. Witnessing this long-awaited, even bolder fashion display, I could only declare, I am utterly ready. The night was long, any matters could be addressed after waking up tomorrow. In the early morning, the dazzling sunlight awakened me. Recalling my increasingly intense and strenuous efforts from the previous night, I couldn't help but feel a blush creep across my face. Indeed, the goddess's performances were becoming increasingly proficient. I then opened the system panel. Show CI, level, tier 3, 3 stars. Powers, space, master of thunder, metal master, martial heart, culinary healing, double return. Catalog member, Lu Qingwan, ability, culinary healing, tier 1, 5 stars. Activated bonds, gourmet, widow. Catalog member, Lu Ruyan, ability, martial heart, tier 1, 5 stars. Activated bonds, martial artist, amazing mature lady. Catalog member, Luo Wanqiu, ability, metal master, tier 1, 5 stars. Activated bonds, equipment master, intellectual teacher. Catalog member, Leng Qingbo, ability, master of thunder, tier 1, 3 stars. Activated bonds, pure love warrior. Catalog member, Bai Jian, ability, double return, tier 1, 1 star. Activated bonds, twin sisters, sisters united. Bai Yiren, ability, double return, tier 1, 1 star. Activated bonds, twin sisters, sisters united. May the host continue their efforts and catalog more goddesses. I watched with satisfaction as the number of goddesses on the panel steadily increased. A surge of joy welled within me as I noticed that the levels of the 4 goddesses, Lu Qingwan, Lu Ruyan, Luo Wanqiu, and Leng Qingbo, had each risen by another star. This is truly excellent, last night's efforts have yielded significant results. After a moment of reflection, I finally rose and exited the bedroom. No sooner had I stepped through the door than I witnessed. At that moment, I emerged from the bedroom, clutching my waist. The current intensity of my labors was still quite high, and I knew I would need time to gradually adapt. However, as I surveyed my surroundings this time, I found the entire villa deserted. Where are my 6 magnificent, beautiful goddesses? Disbelieving, I immediately headed towards the outdoor balcony. Looking down, I finally spotted the women in the garden courtyard outside the villa. I extended a finger and began to count them, one by one, against my temple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No more, no less, exactly 6. Once the count was confirmed, I nodded with a sense of satisfaction and relief. The young women also greeted me with enthusiasm. What are you all engaged in? I inquired with curiosity. Teacher Luo has created various thermal devices and is now preparing to demonstrate them to us. If effective, we plan to install them outdoors in open spaces such as balconies and gardens. Byron, the younger of the twins, quickly replied, her voice filled with joy. After all this time, my research can finally be presented to everyone. Luo Wanqiu crossed her arms, raised her head slightly with pride, and spoke confidently. Shou, you should also take a look. I believe these devices are indeed very powerful. Teacher Luo is truly a prodigy in the field of equipment. Even Lu Ruyan, who has extremely high standards for ability, couldn't help but genuinely praise her. It's a pity my IQ isn't high enough, otherwise I'd want to become Teacher Luo's protege and specialize in thermal devices. The elder twin sister looked at Luo Wanqiu with a smile, her words full of admiration. Jian, if you want to learn, Wanqiu will teach you. Anyway, you didn't awaken a combat ability, so you can just research equipment at home. Lu Qingwan smiled and patted Bai Jian's shoulder, speaking in a comforting tone. Exactly. Sister Luo, you wouldn't refuse Jian's small request, would you? Leng Qingbo, meanwhile, also grabbed Luo Wanqiu's arm with both hands and swayed it back and forth, speaking in a coquettish manner. Jian, if there's anything you want to learn, I'll teach you. Luo Wanqiu dotingly tapped Leng Qingbo's forehead, then turned to look at Bai Jian and spoke seriously. That's wonderful. Thank you, Teacher Luo. Leng Qingbo and Byron both cheered for Bai Jian. For a moment, the garden courtyard was filled with the joyful laughter of these goddesses. I watched this scene from the side, smiling broadly. I bent down and saw that it was about 1.2 meters tall, just like a camera. It was supported by 3 steel stands, and above them was a structure resembling a Gatling gun, filled with dark, cavernous muzzles. As for this device, I've named it Camera 1. What do you think? Isn't it very vivid and evocative? Not bad, right? Luo Wanqiu, standing nearby, introduced it. I nodded indifferently. As long as it's effective, who cares if the name sounds good? Luo Wanqiu then turned her head and asked the other goddesses. Lu Qingwan and the others, of course, shook their heads in full cooperation. Camera 1 is equipped with armor-piercing rounds. These rounds are characterized by their alloy composition, sharp tips, slender bodies, and extremely high strength. Everyone's eyes lit up. Then this power is quite astounding. Did you think it ended there? You haven't seen the other equipment yet. Watching Wanqiu speak with such grace, my mood brightened considerably. Wanqiu, feel free to use those materials and metals. We now have a double rebate, so you no longer need to worry about this aspect. Recalling this, I waved my hand grandly and declared with authority. Bai and Siren, who had been listening somewhat confusedly, exchanged glances, their cheeks faintly flushed, and lowered their heads in unison, their eyes showing a slight panic. Then I'm relieved. Shou, look at this. Since hot weapons are not very effective against the infected, I specially developed this cold weapon. Luo Wanqiu said as she handed me a very heavy, pure black disc. She pointed to the center of the disc and began to explain. This is its switch. The pressable area occupies about a quarter of the entire disc. Once the switch is pressed, the kinetic energy at that moment is quite astonishing. This equipment can inflict considerable damage on the infected, and I've named it the Black Cutter. Without waiting for my questions, Luo Wanqiu actively continued to introduce how to use the black disc. Quite interesting. After hearing Luo Wanqiu's explanation, I nodded in satisfaction, stroking my chin in approval. Whether it's Camera 1 or the Black Cutter, Qingwan, Jian, and Iren are also in the villa as home defense combatants and must be equipped. Luo Wanqiu smiled as she looked at the three individuals, Lu Qingwan and Byron, who had not yet awakened their combat abilities. On the matter of defending the home, her ideas perfectly aligned with mine. Lu Qingwan, I believe these two pieces of equipment are incredibly powerful. Teacher Luo, I admire you more and more. Byron, haha, our home will become an armed fortress. Although the three women reacted differently. I also plan to design an automatic launcher for the black cutter so that Qingwan and the others won't have to operate it themselves. Luo Wanqiu added, with a smile on her face. Wanqiu, you've really done a fantastic job. I embraced Luo Wanqiu, looking at her deeply. It seems I'll have to give her some special attention later, lest I fail to reward her diligent dedication. Are you curious about the power of these two pieces of equipment Wanqiu has created? After releasing Luo Wanqiu, I raised an eyebrow and looked towards my cherished companions. Lu Rian stood up and inquired, your idea is? Are we going to attract a few zombies? She immediately understood my plan. For me, this was a simple task. I nodded in agreement. Do you require our accompaniment? I can manage it alone. No sooner had I spoken than I prepared to head out. Just at that moment, Leng Qingzuan embraced me tightly from behind. You must be careful. I caressed her small hand, promising, wait until I return, I'll be back for you. Leng Qingbo's expression immediately changed. Ha ha ha. Not long after, I returned, leading a group of sturdy men. Following Luo Wanqiu's instructions, Lu Qingwan activated Camera 1. From its many muzzles, Camera 1 immediately unleashed flames, and continuous booming sounds resonated throughout the surroundings. Behind me, dozens of armor-piercing rounds directly penetrated their skulls. The black cutter was then deployed. Upon witnessing the power of Camera 1, Luo Wanqiu nodded in satisfaction. She instructed Bai Jian to use the black cutter. Upon receiving Luo Wanqiu's command, Bai Jian immediately pressed the switch, then forcefully threw the black cutter. It was clearly visible that as the black cutter approached the remaining 3 first-tier zombies, it rapidly initiated its function. 4 alloy spikes spun at high speed, whistling forth. In but an instant, the heads of the 3 zombies were cleanly severed. Upon returning home, I looked at Luo Wanqiu and spoke. You are truly an expert in your field. You certainly possess remarkable skills. Truly phenomenal. Perhaps this degree of success was only attainable due to the relatively small number of zombies encountered. There is still much room for improvement. Luo Wanqiu humbly waved her hand, yet the smile at the corner of her mouth was impossible to suppress. How about we deploy these hot dance units now? There are also several Camera 1 units in the lab, which can be perfectly used to set up defenses for the entire villa. Luo Wanqiu said excitedly. I have no objection. I expressed my agreement. Ruoyan and I will go install them on the open-air balcony. Lu Qingwan, holding Lu Ruoyan's hand, volunteered. I'll go too. My sister and I will install them in the garden courtyard. Byron followed closely, pulling her sister Bai Jian to join them. Then it's settled. You may go. You, Wanqiu, and I will go install another unit on the rooftop. I agreed to everyone's request, and that also included the solitary Leng Qingbo. Leng Qingbo happily accepted the suggestion. She believed I wouldn't forget her. Within half an hour, Camera 1 units had been placed in all 3 areas, the villa's open-air balcony, the garden courtyard, and the rooftop. I clapped my hands on the rooftop, just about to take Luo Wanqiu and Leng Qingbo downstairs. However, I then saw Byron, who had, at some point, slipped around to the back of the first-floor garden courtyard, playing and frolicking by the outdoor swimming pool. The weather is so good today, and the pool water isn't too cold. Come down quickly and play in the water with me. The cheerful voice of her younger sister, Byron, rang out. From the rooftop, I followed the sound and looked down, seeing it clearly. There, Byron had already jumped into the swimming pool, floating in a seated position on the water's surface, with water occasionally caressing her pair of fair, smooth long legs, drawing attention. Meanwhile, her elder sister Bai Qianlang was merely sitting by the edge of the swimming pool, her calves immersed in the water, leisurely splashing about. She just watched her younger sister, Byron, happily swimming in the water. Do you want to play? I turned my head and asked Luo Wanqiu and Leng Qingbo, who were beside me. We want to. Leng Qingbo was already quite interested. Luo Wanqiu offered a faint smile, shrugging her shoulders helplessly. Since everyone wanted to play, she would simply join in. Let's set off. Waving my hand, I announced with great enthusiasm. No sooner had I spoken than I took the lead, effortlessly scaling the wall from the villa's upper floor and leaping down. The physical prowess of a second-tier ability user was more than sufficient, especially with the swimming pool water below serving as a buffer. Jian, here I come. I burst into laughter in midair, shouting loudly. Immediately after, my body plunged into the swimming pool like a precise cannonball, creating a colossal splash. The water outlined her graceful figure. The splashing water completely drenched by Jian's clothes by the poolside. She cast a chiding look at me as I emerged from the water. You fellow! Why did you suddenly jump down? You startled me. Bai Jian said, wringing the water from the corner of her clothes. Wiping the water from my face, I said with a grin. It's just that seeing you all having so much fun, I couldn't resist. At this moment, Leng Qingbo also quickly ran down the stairs, standing by the pool and saying excitedly, I want to come down and play too. Saying this, she lightly leaped into the water like a joyful bird, creating a ring of beautiful splashes. Luo Wanqiu, meanwhile, followed unhurriedly, walking to the edge of the pool, elegantly dipping her feet into the water to feel the temperature, then slowly sliding in. Seeing everyone had come down, Siren was even more excited, swimming around in the water, diving to the bottom one moment and surfacing the next, occasionally splashing water at everyone with her hands. I swam directly towards Siren without hesitation, my hands swiftly touching her long, smooth legs with lightning speed. Jealousies. Siren's face instantly flushed with embarrassment. Jian! Come play with us. You can't just stand there watching. I said with a smile to Bai Jianlan. After briefly dealing with Bai Jian, I looked up towards Luo Wanqiu and Leng Qingbo on the rooftop, as well as Lu Qingwan and her daughter Lu Ruyan, who had been watching from the open-air balcony for a long time. Come down quickly, merely observing will not suffice. Once everyone had assembled, I adopted the demeanor of the head of the household and declared. From the outbreak of the apocalypse until now, we have consistently lived under high pressure and in a tense environment. Therefore, today we shall have a pool party to properly relax and enjoy ourselves. Long live Jealousies! No sooner had my words fallen than the goddesses enthusiastically responded, their cheers rising in a continuous chorus. As I had stated, ever since the blood rain descended, they had lived almost constantly in fear and apprehension, each person fending for themselves. Since meeting me, their lives had finally become secure, yet new challenges and pressures emerged, such as the yearning for power and plans for the future. They had never experienced a single day of complete relaxation. This pool party, without a doubt, presented a rare and long-awaited opportunity for leisure and recreation. Well then, you all go change into your swimwear, and I will retrieve the speaker from the audio-visual room to provide some music for us. Since this is indeed a pool party, the requisite atmosphere, outfits, and games must not be overlooked. Without further delay, let us proceed swiftly and return promptly. Meanwhile, the 6 women, Lu Qingwan, Lu Ruyan, Luo Wanqiu, Leng Qingbo, and Siren, exchanged knowing glances, yet by unspoken understanding, said nothing further. How could they not be aware of the little schemes brewing in my mind? Indulge them, then. Thus, the group divided and proceeded in 2 directions. I moved with great speed, and in no time at all, retrieved the Bluetooth speaker from the audio-visual room. Boom chicka boom. Music brimming with rhythm filled the air, instantly enlivening the pool party. As the music began to play from the speaker, it was swiftly followed by the grand entrance of the 6 goddesses, splendidly adorned.